Up next was Roman Reigns and John Cena versus Kane and Randy Orton.
Not really much to say about this tag team match. It was all the guys involved that are going to be, in the Battleground main event. As we know, it's a fatal four-way WWE World Heavyweight Championship: Cena, Kane, Orton, Reigns. So babyfaces against heels. Ultimately, from what I remember about this match, Ashton, was the breakdown. Do you have anything you remember prior to that you want to mention?
The match itself, no. The only thing really worth noting was the very final closing minutes of this match, which really wasn't even the match at all. It was just the post-match.
Right. So we do have the breakdown where Roman Reigns and Randy Orton are fighting up the ramp. It leaves Kane and Cena alone. Cena was taken out because Orton did nail an RKO at one point. That I do remember, and it was a beautiful RKO. So Kane is taking it to Cena.
Is there such thing as an RKO that isn't beautiful?
You're so right. But Kane grabs steel steps. He clocks Cena in the face with them, thus making the DQ. He then tombstones Cena at the behest of Triple H. Then Triple H is making a hand motion, signaling for somebody, and Seth Rollins' music hits.
He comes down to the ring. He is all ready to cash in, but the referee is being slow because he wants to wait for John Cena to at least show some sign of life. And ever since that tombstone, he just kind of looked dead. So, the ref is waiting. Triple H is getting on the ref's case. He says, ring the bell. And next thing you know, before the ref gets the chance to ring the bell, Dean Ambrose shows up. Massive pop from the crowd. Beats down Seth Rollins. Literally is beating Rollins through the crowd. And the one problem that I had with this, as Dean Ambrose is beating the crap out of Seth Rollins going through the crowd, Kane acts as if the barrier is a legitimate freaking force field. He doesn't even try going over it. He just reaches over it and tries to grab him. When he realizes he can't reach him, he just kind of backs off and looks angry.
Yeah, and I guess that's because, soon after Triple H tries to redirect the traffic, having Kane do even more punishment to Cena. But who makes the save but Roman freaking Reigns?
Dude.
Coming back and, yeah.
We should have known when the Shield broke up that all it really meant was that they were going to get even more time. Didn't I even say something like that? Like, rather than getting 30-minute segments, we were going to get 3 20-minute segments a night involving the Shield, and that's totally what's happening.
Yeah, I believe you did say something to that effect, and it's certainly panning out, because Roman Reigns comes out, he spears Kane again to another nice pop, and then he has probably the longest stare down in history with Triple H.
I know, it went on for so long, it was so freaking awkward.
I mean, I have never seen. They might as well have been wearing sandwich boards around their necks saying, "Buy SummerSlam, buy it now, steal from your mother, buy it now."
I know, right? Yeah, pretty much.
Like, really selling that pay-per-view main event there, guys. Finally, Triple H does step off, and that concludes Raw. Dude, what a hot ending that was.
Yeah, it was hype. It was just awesome. I mean, here's the thing. The stare down went on for long enough that it got awkward and to the point that it almost sullied the main event, but I think that the feeling wasn't lost enough.
No, certainly not. I think the crowd ate out of the palm of their hands, personally. This whole, and that's another thing that I really wanted to stress, and I think I will now because we are coming to the concluding remarks about Raw before our next segment. This crowd was tremendous.
Oh yeah, this was one of the most active crowds that I've seen since, and I'm going to say it again, the post-WrestleMania Raw.
Right. Now, if all crowds were like this, I would love the product so much more than I already do, because I think crowd participation is so crucial.
Yeah, it really is, dude. A crowd can make or break a good show.
Absolutely. Look, you could see, and I really believe this, I think you could see a match the quality of Taker Michaels, but if it's nothing but crickets from bell to bell, it's going to miss that oomph. It's going to miss that X factor that really makes you just revel in it and tell and retell the story of your friends and family with that.
Because every match needs a top rope facebuster.
Exactly. Saw what you did there. So anything else you want to say about this Raw before we go into our next segment?
It was a fun Raw, but let's get into high spots and low shots.
Oh, yeah, buddy. And my low shot, you know what? I'm going to say my low shot is Vincent Kennedy McMahon now.
Yeah, I was going to say that too, but I won't steal.
You know what? He has fun at Vince McMahon's expense. Stephanie, of course, to steal a phrase from you, Ashton, that I've grown quite a liking to, she puts the kibosh on that. Has Khali come
I have been using that a lot more often, haven't I?
Yeah, I picked up on that last night, and yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. So consider that stolen.
Of course, just like Job.
Yep. Kali comes up, Brain Chop gets the quick pin. So yeah, terrible night for Sandow. He is in the Intercontinental Championship Battle Royal, but that would be like saying Miz is in the Royal Rumble. He's simply there to fill space.
Exactly. My low shot, just because I don't want to copy you, is Paige, because you have to hit your lowest point before you can jet your way back up.
Oh, dude, you know what? I don't disagree with you, and it is a brilliant choice, but I'll be honest, the sadist slash douche in me was really hoping you'd pick Miz, because so quickly he goes back into irrelevance.
I know. Well, that might be my high spot, but no.
Oh man, so yeah. My high spot, man, this is so hard, but you know what? I'm gonna do one that'll probably put a smile on your face. My high spot's Dean Ambrose.
Yes.
The guy consistently, I think, is having the best segments on the show. He had a great promo, like backstage, foreshadowing to Seth, hey Seth, you're never going to be a champion because I'm never going to allow you to cash in. And for the first night, he follows through on it. Of course, sooner or later, the other shoe's got to drop, and we got to see how the cash in ultimately pans out. Wouldn't it be? Again, this is just me trying to be funny for the sake of being funny, but wouldn't it be hilarious if Ambrose just consistently interrupted Rollins until the contract itself expired?
Yeah.
Like, just
I know, dude. No, you don't understand. There are people on Reddit actually talking about that seriously.
Seriously?
Yeah, that's not an original John idea. That's something that's been getting bounced around Reddit like crazy.
Wow, dude. Because, no, I was just being facetious. I didn't even really put any real stock in that. But yeah, just imagine if he was that true to it. Because he did say in his promo with Renee, I have a code. I don't lie. So really, if he allowed Seth to, even if he failed to cash in, it was still a cash in attempt. And so it would be breaking his promise. So just imagine. And then he's trying to cash it in at Money in the Bank because he knows it's going to expire. And then the clock strikes midnight. And he's like, no, damn you, Ambrose. And he's just got a troll laughing up the ramp. Oh, God. I'm in hysterics just thinking about it. So, yeah, Dean Ambrose is owning it right now. Definitely one of the top guys on the roster.
Yep.
Friggin' loving it. Ashton's been calling it for years. And, again, he's the conductor of this caboose. I'm happily enjoying my first class tickets. Let's have a good time.
Absolutely. All right. My high spot is actually a dual high spot. Two guys, completely unrelated, but both had equally great nights. Kofi Kingston, who actually defeated Cesaro, regardless of the beating he took later. He still picked up a huge win over Cesaro, which is, in the WWE's eyes, he's an A-plus player, potentially. And my second overall high spot is Dolph Ziggler, because he got the win and he got the girl.
Agreed on both counts, and I really can't add anything to either of them. I mean, Kingston did get the win when it was all said and done, and I'd be a hypocrite if I retracted my my one phrase, so I have to use it again here. A win is a win. He may have been beaten from pillar to post, from three ways to Sunday, but he goes away with a W in the record book. And Dolph, winning matches, stealing ex-girlfriends, another day that ends in Y.
I know,
Dolph
right?
Ziggler.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, dude. So you already know what mine is, but I want to find out what your Raw request just so happens to be this week.
I have been dying to get this off. I've been dying to get this off my chest since Heat of the Night. The Raw that you had, where, to phrase it the way Ashton did, you set up 2 definitive matches and 4 potential matches for a grand total of 6.
And by the way, it might actually be 5 other potential matches, possibly up to 7, including the 2 set in stone, because I forgot to mention the intergender tag match between Fandango, Layla, Summer, and Dolph.
Right.
So that's up to 7.
Yeah. Every Raw in the aftermath of a pay-per-view needs to be just like this one in terms of hyping the next pay-per-view. It has been the biggest annoyance for me for years when you waste a week before building to your next pay-per-view, making every pay-per-view like 3-week builds. And if you've only had a pay-per-view with 2 weeks between you, well, I'll be fair, that's when you really do capitalize because you know you don't have much time. But it's almost like you take that week as like your week off. No. Take advantage of every minute you have of available television. You're a conglomerate in terms of media. You have so many shows and so many things with apps and social media. It's ridiculous. If you started cultivating some of those resources and actually billing your pay-per-views and hyping them up and even hyping up SummerSlam like we saw with the Reigns Triple H stare down, this is what it means to be a good wrestling product. You know, Ashton, you and I, and it's well-deserved, give TNA knocks all the time. But when they were a good company, one of the things that I love that they do, they would always think forward to the next pay-per-view even before they arrived at the one that was on the horizon. always like making new matches or laying new groundwork.
Yeah,
WWE,
dude, I remember they used to always hype pay-per-views 2 months in advance. Like they would obviously build up for the one that's coming up next, but on that same note, they would also always build up the one after that.
right. WWE needs to adopt a very similar mentality when it comes to just each successive pay-per-view. Because how many pay-per-views do they do a year, Ashton? It's 11, right?
It's somewhere between 12 and 14. I'm not sure.
12 and 40. I mean, that's ridiculous. I've always said, first of all, that I think WWE needs to shave their pay-per-view like numbers down. But if they're going to keep it up that way, you need to take advantage of every little bit because you're not even going to have time to breathe anyway before the next show.
To me,
Yeah.
the ideal number of pay-per-views for the WWE to have is 8. You have
Yeah.
Rumble, Chamber, Mania, Extreme Rules, TLC, or not TLC, Money in the Bank, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, and TLC. There's your 8 right there.
Dude, it's so funny you said 8 because 8 was the exact number I was thinking when I was going on my little tangent here. I think 8 is ideal. I would agree with every pay-per-view you listed, right down to the letter. I think you nailed it. But if you're going to have this oversaturation, which I do believe 12 to 14 is as close to oversaturation as you're going to get, then you need to take advantage of every scrap of TV time you're afforded. And the fact that WWE did it with this Raw, you know what this tells me? One, not only are we right for urging them to do so, because look at the payoff. This Raw was phenomenal.
Well, I mean, if
phenomenal.
you're getting right down to it, dude, this Raw was phenomenal, building up for a show that we have in 3 weeks. So that kind of goes against your point, doesn't it?
Like, what do you mean?
Well, you're saying they need to have less frequent pay-per-views, and therefore they should have more of a break between shows, but this show proved very well that they do better when there's less of a break between shows.
But see, that is what I'm saying, because I'm saying them shaving down their pay-per-views, that would be ideal. If we're not going to get that, what I'm saying is then you need to take every opportunity to promote your shows because they're in such close succession to each other.
Oh, I see what you're saying now.
So,
okay.
Yeah, WWE pulled that off beautifully. If they're going to stick with this pay-per-view model, which I'm glad to see you also disagree with and you think 8 is ideal because, again, I'm the exact same way. But if they're going to stick with their 12 to 14, this is how business needs to be done. And not only are we right in saying that because, again, as I was saying, this Raw was phenomenal, but it shows that they're capable. And that's the important thing. They pulled this off. So my question is, why aren't you doing it? What is so wrong? Like, what is your problem with just saying, guys, we should really build a Battleground. It's in 4 weeks. Yeah, I was, but I got this thing.
I'm really kind of in the mood to see Santino and Fandango do a dance-off instead.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I was thinking about that dance-off, and my wife is like, what is it with Fandango and Santino and the dance-off? And I'm like, you're right. I'm gonna put it out of my head. I'm gonna put it on paper. And you just kind of facepalm. You guys can do this. This is the best Raw. Again, going back to the John Report, which is a column I read regularly. The past
you know what we really need on Raw next week? Michael Strahan.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, dude. But again, like, the Raws before this one, he was giving 5 out of 10, 5.5, 4.5, like, really pitiful, piss-poor grades. You know what he gave this Raw? A 9 out of 10.
Oh, wow, I thought I was going to say 8, 8.5. That surprises me even.
No, 9 out of 10. You know what, Ashton? He echoed your sentiment. Well, you said it about the crowd, but he said about this Raw, which I think you did as well at the start of Twitter, that he hadn't seen a Raw this good since the post-WrestleMania Raw. It works. This structure works. And what pisses me off and why I haven't shut up about it, and the only reason I'm still going on about it, is that I know you're not going to do it. I know you're not going to do it. I bet you we get to after SummerSlam. I bet you we get to Night of Champions in September, and it's back to the status quo. I want to be wrong,
dude.
But I don't think
one thing you need to take into account, though, is that we had technically four returns, 2 big returns tonight, Jericho and AJ. We can't have that saturation of big, to me, a big moment in the WWE is a championship changing hands, a return, a turn, or a debut. And we can't have 2 to 4 of those big events every freaking week. It'll make them meaningless.
But here's the thing, dude. I never said we needed them. Because
no, I know, but you're also saying that we need to have a Raw that's this good at building something up. Well, and at the end of the day, 2 of the 4 returns that we got tonight were literally sole purpose was building up a match for Battleground.
Well, I will say this. If you wouldn't have had those 4 returns, I don't think I would have been as excited about this Raw. I'm not going to try and sell that to you. But What I will say is I would have been satisfied, and I would have still given this a big thumbs up had they still gone ahead with the 2 announced matches for Battleground. Dude, do you realize there are Raws that go by, and I know you know this, where not a single match for pay-per-view is announced in the first week?
Oh, of
That to
course,
me
of
is stupid.
course.
That to me is idiotic. That just blows my mind. That's what I'm talking about. I know we can't get championship changes or returns or this and that, but at least acknowledge that you have a show coming up, at least with a main event announced. At least. Even independent shows do that. When I used to go to Force One shows, they always used to let you know, because there was one event per month, what the main event was by the time that of the next event, by the time the main event of the old event concluded. And you always knew, because that's how you draw people in. Well, how do you think you're going to entice people to contribute to your pay-per-view buys or your network buys? This is how you do it. Start shaping up the card as soon as possible. And I'm glad they did it with 2 announced matches. And again, 5 heavily suggested ones. But even the one set in stone, I would have been content.
Yep.
This was phenomenal.
Yep.
That's all I have to say about that.
Absolutely. And you know my Raw request is just to keep up the varied promo styles that you had tonight with the interview and the confrontation and the actual, like, cut to the Titantron kind of thing and the backstage segments. And I like that they kept it varied tonight. I want to see them keep up with that variation.
Completely agree with you on all counts. I think that concludes that segment. And again, I think you said everything you wanted to on Raw, so I can wrap this baby up.
Go for it, brother.
All right, guys, this has been Raw. This has been TwitWow, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans by wrestling fans on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort in Commentary Ashton, and I'm asking ya, comment and subscribe on YouTube. Discuss on Pleats Off. Come at us. Our Raw requests, our high spots, low shots, anything you want to talk about, our ears are yours to talk to, and we will see you again for our NXT review, where the build-up to Neville's and Tyler Breeze's inevitable clash for the NXT Championship marches on. See you guys.